He's a legend in his own lifetime, the one and only economic forecaster, Daniel Silke. Let's get to meet him now on SARA TV. Daniel, you presented on day 2 here at SARA, looking at the South Africa and the world from an economic point of view, risks, rewards and challenges. What was the highlight of your presentations?
Well, the highlight of my presentation was actually becoming a little emotional about some of the better news coming out of South Africa in recent weeks. I think we've been buffeted by a range of negative indicators, some of which nothing to do with us, frankly. The big global geopolitical risks have a tremendous effect on us. We can't do anything about the oil price. We can't do anything about the trade wars between the US and China. But there is some domestic impetus now building in the new Ramaphosa administration to begin perhaps some sort of process of renewal in South Africa. It's a long way to go, but my own feeling, and that's what I really wanted to tell the audience, was that there's a window of opportunity now for South Africa to perhaps kickstart itself.
We have got major economic and social and political problems. We all know that. We talk about them as South Africans every single day. But you mentioned that we might have hit the bottom of the curve. You said fasten your seatbelts. It could be a bumpy ride. But maybe there's a way up?
Well, look, when you look at the economic data, when you look at the statistics of the amount of South Africans out of work, the young people, 6.5 million young people out of work, who many of them don't have a matric or don't have any kind of school leaving certificate at all. The question is, what do you do and how do you integrate them into the economy? And that's a real burden on us going forward. But at the same time, I think that if we are prepared to see new policy shifts in South Africa, which are more business friendly, that will encourage greater inward investment into South Africa from outside and from domestic South African business as well. And we're just starting to see the first shoots of it. So yes, I think it's a bottoming out position that we're in. We could always go lower, Michael.
Please,
you can always go to Venezuela, and Venezuela should be uppermost in our minds as to what to avoid.
A million percent inflation.
A million percent or more inflation, 60% interest rates in Argentina.
Ooh.
We don't want that.
No.
But if you looked at the positive side of the equation, it does look as though we've reached a bottom, and let's hope that the political leadership can in fact gain strength enough to continue with these important reforms going forward.
So as we move through 2019, there is hope.
I certainly think there's more hope today than there's been in the last 6 months, and there's certainly substantially more hope than a year ago. We're seeing very substantial ideological shifts begin to take a little root in government. I've been very critical of government. I think government needs to free itself from the burden of too much state control. We've seen what state control has done to most of the state-owned enterprises in South Africa. If there's an admission of failure, which is the first thing which is important, and secondly, if there's a willingness to begin a more private-public participation in this, take the burden of the state and increase the role that the private sector plays in our society. If we can do that, and there's signs that that's gaining traction in the ANC, if we can do that, bring it on.
And accountability and bringing criminals to justice, it's starting to happen.
It's starting to happen. Look, a year ago, you wouldn't have predicted a state capture inquiry. You wouldn't have predicted a minister resigning because of his conscience. We haven't had that in the old South Africa, and we haven't had that in the new South Africa for that matter. So I think that there has been substantial progress on calling those who've been involved in nefarious activities to account. It's got to take root along all the various ladders of the public service in particular, from the executive to provinces to local government as well. It's a long, arduous road back to credibility, but you've got to start somewhere.
Well, it's not only a privilege to have you on SARA TV, because you're sought after on Bloomberg and CNN and the BBC as well. Where can people find your website, Daniel? Keep in touch with you and getting this glimmer of optimism building further.
I operate on Twitter quite a bit for my sins at Daniel Silke, which is an easy one. LinkedIn, I'm very happy for anybody to link in with me, and I'm very happy to share some of the data that I present in the presentation, so you can get me via LinkedIn, again Daniel Silke, and it's worldwideweb.danielsilkeglobal.com.
Wow, I love that. Well, thank you very much indeed, sir. A real pleasure having you with us at the conference.
Lovely to be here.
Thank you.